Hello, everybody. Mark Kaufman here for Whisky Whistle on YouTube, sharing a little whiskey awesomeness from Winnipeg, Winterpeg, the center of North America. And I've got a very special live review for you today, and that is of Dalmore 14. And there's a special backstory to this bottle. This was donated to the channel by a very good friend and also a whiskey crew member. His name is Joe Galino, and he's backstage right now. And I'll be adding him momentarily, and we'll get this live review started. Anyway, wherever you're joining in from, I really thank you for joining me today. And if you're new to Whisky Whistle, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Okay, we'll talk about that a bit later. But hey, let's get Joe in here. I was about to say Roy because I'm looking at Roy's comment. Hi, Roy. Roy, another crewmate from my my Patreon channel. Okay, so let's get Joe in here. Joe is, as I mentioned, a good friend. He's from Chicago. He has joined the Winnipeg Whiskey Club. He's been a member now for a couple of years, and we send things back and forth across the border to one another. It seems like it comes up north a little bit more than it goes down south, which has to be rectified at some point. And excellent. We have a good friend of mine, Jeff McCabbin, who's popped in. Hey, Jeff, awesome to see you. And I hear you're between classes. So fantastic. If you have something in your breast pocket, now's the time. Okay, let's get Joe in. All right, Mark? Everybody give a good, big, huge welcome to Joe. Joe, say hello to everybody.
What's going on, everybody? Cheers.
All right, wonderful. Well, hopefully the sound is great. And also the video quality, I hope it's great as well. I have a reasonably high-tech setup here. I've got an excellent camera. However, the streaming service that I'm using in order to get Joe on here is not the highest package because it's pretty darn expensive. But anyway, we're getting up to HD quality, 720. I would prefer 1080 or 4K, but beggars can't be choosers. Joe, tell everybody where you are. And
well, I was just going to say
talking about the Dalmore story.
That's why you brought on the highest quality package to make up for it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Both of us bearded today.
Yes. Yeah. So my name is Joe Galino. I'm a enthusiast writer for Whiskey Network magazine. I also do well, it's now called the Great Cigar and Pipe Show. It used to be called the Great Lakes Smoke Show. I do live whiskey and cigar pairing reviews for both the magazine and the Great Cigar and Pipe Show. I'm here in Chicago. Mark basically is the channel that I watched when I was a newbie to whiskey, and he has helped me develop my palate, my knowledge, and my appreciation for whiskey ever since about 2015 when I first got into whiskey. So here I am now. I'm writing for a magazine. Things were a little shaky at first, but I've gotten better at it as an enthusiast writer. The magazine can be found at whiskynetwork.net. That's whiskynetwork.net. It's free to subscribe. All you do is you punch in your email address and you're subscribed. The magazine is virtual. It goes to your email inbox on the first of every month. There's also a weekly barrel report newsletter every Friday where you're getting all the up-to-date information in the whiskey world up to and including that week. There's a lot of passionate people that write for that magazine. It's a pretty cool magazine. We do, obviously, the cigar and whiskey pairings. We do a lot of celebrity interviews that are involved in the whiskey world, and whiskey recipes, cool just whiskey journeys and whiskey stories in general. So I hope you subscribe. It's free. And I'm excited to be on the show with Mark and run through this Dalmore 14.
It's super awesome to have you, and absolutely an amazing story of origins, which involve me in a weird way, and we both end up being kind of prairie boys. Him in Chicago and me in Winnipeg. Winnipeg actually is called the Chicago of the North, so pretty wild. And when I moved back to Canada 4 years ago, we got in touch, and that's kind of when the bootlegging the bootlegging started back then. And just to jump in and interrupt for a second, I've got a couple of wonderful people that have popped by. We have Jason Whiskey Wise, a YouTuber that is on hiatus because of his day job now working for a big company in the UK. So Jason, welcome, Jason Whiskey Wise. He still puts out videos every now and then, and he's got a pretty big catalog too. Jason, I'm sure you know how many videos you have uploaded, so why not mention that in a comment here, which would be awesome. And he mentions he hasn't seen Dalmore 14, and I'm not sure. This may be a USA only release. Joe, I'm sure, knows this. We'll talk about that in a second. We have Frank F, who's joined in. Welcome, Frank. I think it's the first time for you on Whisky Whistle to join into a live stream. And we have another original OG Whisky Whistle, commenter, and someone who often adds a lot of information on videos in comments or in live streams like this, and that's Peter White. Hello, Peter. Welcome. So a nice bunch of people who jumped in nice and early. We've got 8 people watching so far. That I'm sure that number is going to explode because we have 2 wild and crazy guys on this show today. That's a little bit of Canadianisms in there. All right, so Joe, tell us about the Dalmore 14 and what the heck is this doing here in my bar?
Okay, so yes, the Dalmore 14, it is a U.S. exclusive release. That's to bolster Dalmore's market in the United States, obviously. I actually had a chance to do an article, a review on this particular whiskey after meeting and going through a presentation with Greg Glass. He's basically the master distiller for White Mackay in Dalmore. But it's a single malt Scotch. It's aged in American white oak ex-bourbon, and it's finished in Pedro Jimenez casks. It's obviously a minimum of 14 years. It's bottled at 43.8%. The price here in the United States is $89.99.
Which, to be honest, in American currency for a 14-year-old whiskey from a big company, it's a tad expensive. But well, some Dalmore are reasonable. I once bought the 15-year-old for about $60 US. That was, I think, 2016 or 2017. And this was just straight up retail in South Korea. And I enjoyed it. I was getting ready. I was writing my notes and all that kind of stuff, getting ready for a review. And then I ended up smashing the bottle. One of my 2 unfortunate bottle smashes. But what I've seen is they got some things like the Dalmore 12-year-old sherry, which is about the same price as the Macallan 12 sherry. Now, I think these are too expensive, and I think that's fueled by demand for these products. One, for Macallan, because people think that it's something to invest in, and you got people hoarding Macallan. And then secondly, then you've got the Dalmore, and they seem to peg their prices a little bit less than Macallan, but so it's like, I don't know, 5% less or so to get the the Dalmore 12 sherry versus the Macallan. And I have to say, I actually did buy one today because I got it on sale, and Peter White might know what I'm talking about. There's a big sale in Alberta. Anyway, wild stuff. One great thing though is I see, and I had Joe ask this question. I see the Dalmore slowly inching up their ABV. So you've got this one at 43.8 percent, and you've got things like cigar malt. I think it's 43, and the what is it called? King Alexander. I think that's about the same, or maybe even a little bit higher in strength. So you got this variety of strengths, whereas just a few years ago they were just flat out 40% almost across the board. So that's a really positive change, which is nice.
Yeah, when I asked, I actually got a chance to ask Greg Glass that question, and his answer was, we do what's best for our flavor profile versus price point determination. And as far as I'm concerned, you get a 14-year-old Dalmore at $89.99, and the flavor profile on this, as we go through it, you're going to see why I think is a great deal on this bottle.
And we have some fellas chiming in about some of my epic smashes on camera, being the Kilkerran 12. And I think even Joe knows my love of Kilkerran.
Absolutely.
And somehow a bottle, I might even have it right here. I do. A bottle of Kilkerran 8-year-old showed up all the way from Chicago. And amazingly, it got through everywhere and arrived unscathed at my doorstep.
Oh, a little bit.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, so bit of a what did I do? A little bit of a segue there into a different topic. Peter White says he's never owned a Dalmore, and I want to just throw this up here because I think that we're having this live stream. It's about Dalmore. We very nearly had one of the White and Mackay Dalmore ambassadors on this little show tonight. Timing, I think, didn't quite work out, but I mean, they have to know that there is conversations about Dalmore out there amongst whiskey enthusiast circles, such as this. We have people saying things like this: "I never owned a Dalmore. They seem to be upping their game lately without staggering prices." And he's right. They are upping their game. But here you have a whiskey lover who's never owned a Dalmore. And I feel like in a way, Peter White is doing himself a disservice, because you and I both know that, I mean, to use the American term, it's got some great juice. It's great juice in this bottle. But they're coming off of... I think the Dalmore almost kind of like was the last of the major brands to make a shift from 1990s, 2000s, even 2010, the marketing style at that point with heavy use of color. This one doesn't look too dark for what it is. We'll go look at that together. But they had used a lot of color in the past. The ABV had been low, and so now you see a shift. They're moving into, they're shifting over to more towards what current consumers want. And yes, that may be because they're thinking, okay, this whiskey is best at 43.8. Well, I guarantee you, if this were made 10 years ago, the then blender, which may have been Richard Patterson, he might have said, well, Dalmore lovers love 40%, 43% maximum. And so that might have been his take on ideal flavor at that point. He may have even known, oh, this is better at 44%, but our consumers aren't ready for that yet. And so now you have a different set of whiskey lovers. They're ready for higher strength, and we've got that port here. And I'm doing all this talking. I'm going to let you carry on this conversation a little bit and tell us about how you ended up falling in love with Dalmore.
Okay, so like I said, I had the opportunity to meet Ben Boyce, who is the senior whiskey specialist for White and Mackay. I met him on a live through the Great Cigar and Pipe Show at the Corona Cigar Lounge in Lake Mary, Florida. It was just like a by chance meeting. I got thrown in there to do the live interview with Ben. And that's how we met live on the show, but we were in person live, which was pretty cool. got to talking with Ben after the live, and he invited me to meet Greg Glass for a pretty exclusive whiskey dinner. I forget the name of the restaurant. It was a Japanese restaurant downtown here in Chicago, and basically, Greg ran us through a presentation about Dalmore, and the different expressions in the Dalmore range, in a brief presentation on this 14. As I got to go through the tasting and taste of the 14, and then compare it to the 18, and then also get to sip on just their straight Pedro Jimenez sherry, was a pretty incredible experience. And then they add in those chocolate truffles into their tasting, which is a pretty unique experience as well. And in comparison to the 18, you're gonna find some similarities here as far as I'm concerned in my palate. I think the Dalmore is probably roughly around 300, depending on where you're at. So to get some of those similar, Greg Glass calls them those antique properties, which is like those. Well, I'm not going to sway your palate tonight, Mark, but we'll get into that. But this is just an incredible whiskey, especially considering what the 18 is, and there's some similarities right here in the 14 for less than a third of the price. So I got to do that awesome sampling. I did a pretty cool article on it, and knowing that it's exclusive to the U.S. market and how excited I got about this whiskey, I'm like, man, Mark, you need a bottle of this. This has to be on your channel. But I'm like, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to get it, unless you got a little bootleg action going on.
And I really appreciate it. And actually, we've had to quell, is that the right word? We've had to quell, we've had to shore up, we've had to end the bona fide bootlegging. And now that restrictions have been lifted, I will drive across the border and grab a parcel and then ship a parcel from there and do it all on the up and up. So that's great. So if the RCMP are on their way to come and grab me for mail fraud, for bootlegging, well, they're going to have to stop because they have no proof. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so fantastic. I'm really happy that you felt that strongly about this. And I mean, like, here's a guy that amongst the things that Joe has sent up to me, again, for which I'm truly thankful. I really don't ask for people to send me anything. Occasionally things do arrive and I always disclose it. I'm disclosing it now. So this bottle was definitely not purchased by me, but I had things like, well, no, not this one. He tried to send me this Tale of Winter, but it's one of the things that got confiscated last year. But I think a Tale of Cake the year before did get up here.
Oh yeah.
So that was pretty amazing. Yeah. Anyway, so a big cheers to Joe. Joe, you're an awesome friend, and I look forward to the day that we actually get to hang out together, whether that's here someday or whether it's down in Chicago someday. Our families, some cigars are obviously needed. Anyway, cheers, brother.
Cheers.
And cheers to everybody who's watching today. Thank you very, very much for coming. And he's using your what? Okay. Thank you very much for coming along today and joining us on this live review. We're going to get started with that shortly. And just in my typical fashion, I do want to show the color on a white background for people. So you do have a fairly deep hue there. Now, I mean, keep in mind it is well known that White and Mackay, the owners of Dalmore, do use E150A, and they'll use it to varying degrees depending on the product. So the older something gets, the less they'll need. The more cask influence, like sherry, for example, this one the more cask influence there is, the less color that they would need. And so far from my tastings, which is about three glasses so far over the last couple of months, I think it's been a couple of months since I got this. I have to say that I don't smell or taste the burnt caramel E150A color, and I had in the past with Dalmore. And if anything, my nose and my palate are getting more and more delicate and in tune with whiskey from the beginning. So very little is used here. I feel, and if anybody who's watching, if you're in Germany, you won't get this product, so you won't actually be able to see it on the back of the label. But they would put on there, added color, Mitfarbstoff or met color in those languages, because those are the law there. Whereas for Canada, USA, Europe, that doesn't need to be disclosed. Europe, other countries in Europe. But anyway, that's a lot of talk about nothing. So very nice looking color. The legs as well. We'll have a quick look at that. Did you check out the legs yet, Joe?
I have not.
And I'm being very dangerous here. I'm doing this right over my laptop. Okay. That should be good. And again, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that very well. But what I noticed with this one, we have medium speed legs and some nice definition. And for sure, there's a lot of cask content fueling those legs. And you have that added ABV that helps as well. And again, according to my test so far, it certainly does have some nice mouthfeel. So again, I didn't take a sip before, but a big cheers to everybody. And let's give that a quick taste. Then we'll go back into the nose. How about that? First of all, it's super sweet. There's a lot of citrus on the palate. But before we get into the palate, we're going to talk about the nose. And Joe, do you want to share what you have in your hand that you're enjoying tonight?
Oh, this this is the new Don V Maduro. It's out of Honduras. It's Oscar Valladares's blend in collaboration with Vic Shaw here in Chicago, the owner of Norwood Royal Cigars, whose motto is "Light it, smoke it, love it." Obviously, the first Don V was a Corojo wrapper. It was a Honduras Puro cigar, all wrapper, filler, and binder. But this one is got a Maduro Jalapa wrapper on it from Nicaragua. And it is basically the original Don V on steroids. He basically took this cigar to the next level. I call it my chocolate truffle cigar, which is very fitting for tonight's pairing with this Dalmore 14. As I said earlier, Dalmore, they typically add some truffles to their tasting experience, and this kind of just replaces those truffles for me.
All right, so that's awesome. That sounds like a great product to get into if you happen to be local. I think, I'm not sure about the distribution levels, but I think for some states they can probably ship to.
Yeah, he does ship. Maybe you can add the website on the YouTube link later on.
Okay, so wonderful. So that's great. Now, one thing we have to be careful of with YouTube these days, they're not really too much into the tobacco scene, which is too bad. I have a couple of reviews in the past or pairings, like for example the Dalmore cigar malt with a cigar, and YouTube didn't like that very much. But thankfully, like a lot of those channels are not fully outright banned yet, so that's great. I think they can't be monetized directly, which I'm not really on board with that, because I feel like good cigars and pipe tobacco, these things are natural products, and they're not like the cigarettes that people were chain smoking in the 80s that fueled a lot of cancers. Now, that's not to say that cigars are not are healthy. It's certainly something that has to be viewed as a once in a while thing to enjoy, and to be careful with how you enjoy your cigar. Check out Joe's information. I put a link into the Whiskey Network blogging that he does called Sippin' with Stogies. Is that right?
Yep, Sipping with Stogies.
Okay,
And
so that's in the description of this video, so you can check that out. So that's cool.
Cigars it's a natural product. It's a totally different smoking experience compared to cigarettes or
absolutely
vape, so I don't get the whole FDA nonsense about it.
Right. And it's a slow enjoyment. And I mean, I know people that'll have like one cigar a day, and half the time they're not even really they're just enjoying the smell, and they're not really like huffing and puffing on it. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not a pro. I do enjoy a cigar now and again, as everybody would know. But anyway, so we'll get into the nose. But here we have another comment from a let's call him a next level whiskey enthusiast, and he has, again, the same kind of comments about the issues with Dalmore, which again would be very similar with the Macallan. But over on the whole, I would, in terms of how well the company is looking after its fans, I feel like the Dalmore does a little bit better with pricing, a little bit better with ABV, and not as, it's just not quite as astronomical in their scope of the way things are going. So they're a little more careful with their clients, their customers, which is great. But we were talking about this WT, and what I said was that we have a company in Dalmore that seems to be making a shift from your typical 40% products. Almost every single Scotch single malt whiskey, even let's say 20 years ago, 15 years ago, a lot of them were 40%. 43% was kind of like the max, except for independent bottles or very special single casks. And then you had the odd thing like Aberlour Abana, which both Joe and I love, that started putting out yearly cask strength releases. And you had Glenlivet, Nadara, and et cetera, and et cetera. And then you get this ball rolling. And a lot of companies, there's some of them that they won't release it unless it's 46.3%, like the Tobermory's and the Bunnahabhain that are out there.
Yeah, and like I was saying, I had a chance to do that special exclusive Dalmore tasting, and they add in the truffles, and then getting to hear Greg Glass speak about his whiskey brand, and it was just a pretty incredible experience, and probably one of the best. I do a lot of tastings. I'm a whiskey nut. I'm a whiskey enthusiast, and this is probably one of the best experiences that I had in a single sitting, doing a tasting of different expressions from the same distillery, especially with those truffles, hearing everything from Greg. And I just kind of started to fall more and more in love with Dalmore, and they definitely upped their game with this 14.
I really do agree with you.
Yeah.
And when you hear this, like, I'm in Winnipeg, and we very rarely get the master blender coming out to something in Winnipeg, which they should. Manitoba is a big buyer of whiskey. But anyway, so we very rarely get a master blender out this way. We had Don Livermore a couple of years ago which was fantastic. Don Livermore makes Lot 40 and Wiser's products. Joe, if you haven't recalled the name, but so you had the master blender at your tasting, and you probably had Dalmore 12, the 12 sherry, the 14, this one, the 15, I'm guessing the 18.
Yes.
Surely you had the cigar malt. You probably had the King Alexander.
Yep.
What else was there on that table?
That was exactly what was on the table, and we got to go through every single one of them. And like I said, I got to try the actual Pedro Jimenez sherry.
Amazing.
Nice,
so
yeah.
Oh, I see. So the sherry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are one of the distilleries that seems to have really, really strong relationships with bodegas and other winemakers.
Yeah,
and
that's going to be Richard Patterson.
Bespoke, Richard Patterson, exactly.
Yeah,
they'll have bespoke, or they'll have like a cask that that some Grand Cru from France had used, or from a bodega in Spain.
Yeah.
These are things that you don't see a lot from other distilleries. Now, granted, they're often blended into a product. Okay, so like the cigar malt, it's got a lot of different things in there, and it's blended together. For my palate, that cigar malt is very much something that I quite enjoy a lot. I don't know if we'll get another bottle again, because again, having this channel kind of prevents you from stocking up on things, because well, I'm not going to put a re-review of cigar malt. If I do, it's going to be maybe after my 10th anniversary. So I want to try other things, and so then I was showing people this glass earlier, and where did that come from? Well, I bought a set of the Dalmore 12-year-old, the original 12-year-old, and it came with 2 of these copitas, which is great. And so I just finally completed the set. So I've got the original 12-year-old, and then I've got the 12-year-old sherry cask that's coming. So there's going to be an interesting Dalmore versus review coming very soon, comparing the 12 versus the 12. Anyway, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that cigar malt, it's 44% ABV, and for me, it's just like a unicorn whiskey when it comes to pairing a cigar with a whiskey. You can pair it with just about any style of cigar.
Yeah, and very interestingly, that cigar malt, especially in Canada, if you shop in Alberta, you can get that for like $110 or $120 Canadian, which, so you're talking like 80, 90 US. That's pretty amazing. Anyway, I want to get into some of the comments that we see that are popping up, but first, a little discussion of the nose. So one thing that if you're watching Whisky Whistle for the first time today, I do my best to avoid extraneous tasting notes when I approach a whiskey. If Ralphie reviewed it, I'll skip that review until I've already done my own review. I will not read the back of the label. I don't want that influence from the distillery, from the marketing department, to tell me what they think I should be tasting. So it's an organic process, and I do my best here. So here we're going to try it together. So what I'd like, Joe, is we'll both get into some smelling. You may have already polished off a glass. I know this is taking way too long for getting into the nose, but let's just go back and forth, and we'll go through the nose together. Then we'll check out the palate, and then I'm going to add some water. I have my trusty, I have my Highland spring water available, which I quite enjoy these. And it's not a plug. I'm not funded by this company, but I'm really enjoying playing with this spring water.
Can I plug Ice Mountain?
You can plug Ice Mountain. Is that a local one?
I don't know. It's out of the water that we have here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into the nose. And if you're watching and you're pouring yourself some of this 14-year-old or another sherry-focused Dalmore, then let's talk about it together. Okay. So the nose, everyone. Blood orange is something that's coming out of this glass for me. It's that juxtaposition of an orange with a berry, and it's almost like, you know, when an orange has kind of overstayed its welcome, but it gets this really seductive aroma if you want to dry an orange to use in a potpourri or something like that. You get this it's almost like it's like a stewed citrus fruit nose. So I've got berries and I've got orange. There is a pretty intense amount of a really, really good quality vanilla extract. Joe, what do you have?
So I'm glad you're doing this organically, and we'll compare it to what I have from my article. On the nose, I have sweet and breezy Cinnabon cereal frosting over citrusy caramelized cranberry brioche.
Well, isn't that interesting? Because it kind of falls in line with what I'm sharing. You know, the vanilla, the baked goods, and then the citrus and the berry. So that's pretty great. And you know, when you're sitting and smelling and tasting whiskey with somebody, you're going to have different experiences. You're from different places. I don't have a Cinnabon here. So as much as I loved watching Better Call Saul and see him, you know, putting in his 9 to 5 at a Cinnabon, I just don't have that experience. And you see people like you saw that fella in the control room, the security room, devouring a box of Cinnabon cinnamon buns. And you know, I mean, like, I've got some fantastic cinnamon buns in Winnipeg for sure, but you know, that would be a very particular you know, American tasting note for a whiskey. But anyway, very seductive note, Joe. And it's fresh. It's got a bit of light grassiness.
Right. Yeah. That sweet and breezy, that freshness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, I really am not getting a sense of the burnt caramel E150A, which I have in the past. And White and Mackay makes some very entry level blended Scotch whiskies. You can get one at Tesco if you're watching from the UK. So the Tesco blended Scotch whiskey is made by White and Mackay, and it's okay. I mean, it's like a $10 whiskey for a full bottle, $10. I mean, that's nuts. This is in the South Korea price. And it's when I was a little bit hard up for cash, that was a great whiskey for me. But I noticed that there was that slightly bitter, burnt sugary smell and taste to it. So anyway, it's used. I mean, it's heavily used in the industry for blends, for probably all, if not almost all of the top 10 single malt whiskey brands. A lot of them are using that. I don't think there's a single one in the top 10 when you're talking about the brands themselves that use it. But I digress. So what I'm saying is that this to me is a showing Dalmore as Dalmore should be made. And if that's Greg Glass's work, obviously with the approval of the nose himself, then a big cheers to the Dalmore for this very lovely, interesting, wonderfully juicy, citrusy, seductive smelling whiskey. I think that's pretty good for the nose. Should we get into the palate?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it.
Cheers.
Big cheers again, everybody. Cheers, Joe. A nice flood of comments coming in, which is fantastic. And some familiar faces popping by to say hello. Donner Pass Whiskey, hello. Loch Ness, I said hello before. He talks about the cigar malt having a wonderful nose, but he didn't find it transitioned into the palate. I wonder. I found that the longer I had that bottle, the more I appreciated the palate. I wonder if there's a sort of a slow improvement with oxidation that happens in the bottle itself, but the strength is pretty good. I found it very much like a Glendronach 15 to my memory of that palate. But very nice whiskey. So thanks for popping by, Loch Ness. And we have okay, so here's a question. I mean, so does Dalmore add coloring or chill filter? Yes, they do. So let's go through the list. Glenfiddich, yes. Glenlivet, yes. Macallan, yes. Glenmorangie, yes. Singleton, the 3-in-1 labeling, yes. Who's number? What's that? That's they're number 4. So then that's 5. I'm not sure of all of the rankings here, but Lagavulin, yes. Lafroig, yes. Bowmore, yes. What else have we got in there? Aberlour, yes. All with color. Sorry, not Macallan and not Highland Park. They don't use color. That's on their bottles now, which is great. Anyway, but for chill filtration, they all do it. Except for some of their special bottlings, some Glenmorangie, some of the Aberlour, Abuna, for example. Glenlivet Nadara is a nice product. A little bit too young for my tastes. It's good. It's good. I'll leave it at that. But this is not a what's the word? Not a name and blame episode, but not every whiskey that's been chill filtered and has had some color added is something that you shouldn't be checking out. And I know that there are people that will say, well, okay, if it's got color added and if it's got chill filtration, I'm not buying it. And if you have access to independent bottles, to a plethora of other things, other single malt whiskeys that are natural through and through, then maybe you can do that. But do I think a whiskey enthusiast should skip the Dalmore? No, I don't. Should they skip Macallan? No. I'll say that my purchasing is probably now 80% unchill filtered and natural color. Joe, probably yours is something like that too.
Yeah,
slowly inching up in strength.
Yeah, and I'll be honest. When I was getting into the malt side of things, Mark, you know this. I was really into just bourbon barrel influenced scotches, your Glenmorangies, your Glengrants, Old Pulteney, stuff like that. And the Dalmore 12 was actually, like, I want to say, one of the first sherried scotches that I bought. I bought the 12, and I got really turned off to sherry. Maybe my palate wasn't ready for sherry yet. But coming full circle back to my by chance meeting with Ben Boyce and being able to run through all the different Dalmore expressions, and with a more developed palate and appreciation for what goes into these expressions. I'm just, like I said, just falling more and more in love with the Dalmore and what they're putting out.
Wonderful. Now, this is certainly not a plug for Dalmore. Joe bought this bottle with his hard-earned cash and sent it up to me because this is a product that he has fallen in love with. Personally, would I take a bottle from any, Jane, Jack, or Jimmy? No, I would not. But we have a relationship, and this is someone that has chosen to be part of the Winnipeg Whiskey Club, that has offered for me and my family to come and stay at his place in Chicago, and vice versa. Someday he'll be up here too, and we have this this sort of friendly trading going on. There's going to be a bottle of Winnipeg whiskey coming down your way very soon, Joe. So it's
and let me just talk about the Winnipeg Whiskey Club for a minute, just a second here. Some of my best tasting experiences have been with the Winnipeg Whiskey Club. The experience it's very thorough and intellectual when we're going through each whiskey. Everybody gives what they're getting out of the whiskey, and I just get so much out of those tastings, and I get to taste some awesome whiskeys that I wouldn't otherwise necessarily get a chance to try. So, if you're up in Canada, definitely jump on board. And I think I don't know, am I still the only American member in the group? I don't know.
The only actual member. We have a few other Americans that join occasionally. So that's awesome.
So if you're in the States and you want to up your tasting experiences, jump on board with the Winnipeg Whiskey Club for sure.
Hey, I really appreciate that. And I think it's become evident to everybody that is running a whiskey club or doing whiskey events that the world has changed, and you cannot fully reach everybody you want to reach with offline in-person events, and you can't reach everybody with online. So it's now this synergy of on and offline. And with our out-of-town members, I try to make sure that we can sort of focus every so often and welcome the out-of-town guests who are joining in virtually, even if we're live together in person. And it's not easy, but it's been fun. And a quick shout out to Ron Gurgley, another Whisky Whistle crewmate. Hey, Ron. Woohoo! Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. I hope you're having a great night wherever you are and whatever you are presently enjoying in your glass. So that's awesome. Thanks very much. I really appreciate the super chat. So thanks very much. So, and again, a flow of questions coming out here, a flow of comments about, the chill filtration side of things, the color side of things. But let's at least celebrate a big brand, a big distillery deciding to put out a whiskey, not at 40%, not at 43%, but at a substantial 43.8%. So that's just wonderful. I think that really shows some respect for the whiskey community. And Dustin, I want to say hello to Dustin. He's here. Top Shelf Dustin, welcome. Try to find his first comment. It's way, way back. Here he is. All right. Okay, so awesome. Here he is. And a little interesting comment there, Dalmore, the whiskey equivalent of a Yugo. So let's not get to, what's the word I want to say? Let's be kind and again respectful of distilleries and not only the whiskey they make, but who they
believe it or
employ.
not, Dalmore is actually the fifth top selling whiskey in the United States.
That's pretty amazing. And I think it's somewhere around that rank globally too, somewhere between fifth and ninth or 10th or so. But that's pretty amazing if they're fifth in US. Pretty remarkable. And let's hope that they start sending out some very valuable products like this to other markets in the world, like Canada, well, wherever you're watching from. Okay, so we didn't get much into the palate, so I'm going to try to refocus here. It is a medium-bodied whiskey. It's not overly thick. You know, it's not like a huge sherry bomb or a 25-year-old first fill bourbon cask. So it's got a medium body. Terry's chocolate orange. The milk chocolate orange that you smash that's shaped like an orange with the little segments of chocolate. So some Terry's chocolate orange up front. And tasting this just, off the cuff, again, for the first time in a couple of weeks. It's got a nice sweet, very lightly astringent, very lightly dry, but sweet, waxy, substantial finish. It's got a nice finish to it. And it's enjoyable. Again, whereas I did in the past, I no longer taste the color added here. And I'm going to stop mentioning that because if you're joining in late, you missed out a lot of good conversation in the beginning. So try to catch up with us. And you can watch the first first 20 minutes where we half an hour now. Oh my goodness, we're almost at an hour. Watch the first hour at maybe triple or quadruple speed. And then you'll catch up with us in about 5 or 10 minutes. Like vanilla pancakes is not a good word. Vanilla baby Dutch pancakes. I make these all the time. Flour, milk, lots of eggs, and then a good amount of vanilla goes in there. Blend it up, throw it in a pan, preferably a cast iron pan. Put it in the oven for 20 minutes, and it's just incredible. There's a nice vanilla baked goods bakery, like a vanilla puff pastry with some kind of a caramel drizzle, or maybe almost like a butter tart. If you had a vanilla flavored pastry with a butter tart filling, would be quite nice. Something like what I'm getting here. What are you getting on the palate, Joe?
Okay, and again, to compare your organic and in the moment notes to my notes for my article. Again, that fresh and zesty on the palate, crisp citrus. You're getting that aged Dunnage Warehouse mustiness, raisins, cocoa, and berries over sweet cinnamon. And in the words of Greg Glass, you're getting those classic antique properties on the palate.
And antique, you may be referring to things like a little bit of leather, a little bit of like old library filled with oak. So oak shelves and leather-bound volumes. And James Watkins, welcome. A few other people that I should just say hello to since they popped by.
What's up, James?
We already thanked Ron Gurdsley for coming by. We have AJ Beauford who's popped in.
What's up, AJ?
wonderful to see you. And he says that he's a noob. And you know what? We're all in various stages of noobness.
Yeah.
So I'm I've been noobing whiskey now for I don't know, 20 years or so. 20, 30, not quite 30. No, I'm not 50 yet. But getting on 30 years since my first
AJ is great. He's got his own cigar line, Big Country with a K cigars, and
cool.
I'm going to be featuring him next year in 2023
Oh,
because
that's awesome.
I found one of his cigars that are pretty excellent.
Did you find a whiskey to pair with it?
Not yet, okay. but we will.
So AJ Beaufort, welcome. Nice to see you here. And just looking at everybody else here, a few other people that I didn't say much to yet tonight is Frank F. Frank F wants to know what cigar you're pairing with Crown Royal. Now, do you mean Crown Royal Fine Deluxe? So with a nice light, again, vanilla heavy with a little bit of a rye dusting, that classic Crown Royal, which is, I mean, apparently Texas's favorite whiskey is Crown Royal. Apparently Crown Royal is either number 1 or number 2 in whiskey sales in USA, neck and neck with Jack Daniels. So 1 year it's Jack Daniels, the next is Crown Royal, back and forth and back and forth. Probably now Jack Daniels is more often number 1 because the American whiskey wave has not even crested yet, and Jack Daniels doing crazy things. They've got a single malt now. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. But anyway, so what cigar would you pair with a nice light Canadian whiskey like Crown Royal?
Oh, I would go right to either your Don V Corojo or your Don V Maduro. This is
so would you be balancing light whiskey with a nice strong, potent cigar?
Yeah, these are just these Don V's are just like an everyday, any time of day type of smoke that you can pair with a variety of whiskeys. And it's actually the Don V original. The Corojo is going to be my cigar of the year for Whiskey Network magazine coming up December 1st.
Now I got to pause here for a second, and I just, gentlemen, let's be reasonable here. I've got some unreasonable, crazy super chats coming in. James Watkins with an insane $50 super chat. I mean, hello, thank you very much. That's going to go towards the Whiskey Whistle T-shirt fund, along with the Patreon funds to get. This is a proof. This is a one-off. I've got 4 of these, and I want to get them more professionally done. So those funds will go towards that. And James Watkins, thank you very much.
Yeah, James is another whiskey enthusiast. He's in California, and we actually exchange whiskey as well. So he's a great guy, and appreciate it, James.
Awesome. And then we have my fellow Canadian Peter White, also putting up some mad cash for this channel, and I just I can't say thank you enough. So a big glass raised to both Peter White and also to James Watkins. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Much appreciated. And that's not something that I ever try to advertise and request. Super chats. It's entirely something that if you feel like this video is speaking to you in some way, then by all means, go ahead. But I'm not going to be asking for it. That would, to me, that would be unethical. But anyway, thank you very much, gentlemen.
We both got cocoa on the palate there, Mark. I don't know if you noticed that. We both did
get cocoa on the palate. Yeah. Terry's chocolate orange for me, some cocoa for you. I'm going to add some water here.
Great idea.
And where is my little?
I'm going to add some whiskey and some water.
Oh, nice.
I think I'm going to end up bottle killing this 14 here.
Oh my.
Yeah, and what's really cool is I actually got a signed bottle from Greg.
Oh, that's amazing. Well done. that's always a lot of fun to have it signed by the maker. So very, very cool. So I'm going to be adding just 5 drops here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops. That's about 1/3 of a milliliter. A very slight nudging of chemistry, a very slight change in the surface tension. And then what I'd like to do, which a lot of people think I'm crazy for doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I like to agitate a little bit and just get my nose right in there. And I'm getting more of that delicious blood orange coming through on the nose.
And fresher, right? It's like a fresher, zesty.
And AJ
orange.
is asking, what does the water do? And I'll tell you, AJ, what it does is, first of all, it lowers the proof. You're lowering the proof somewhat. And so sometimes the alcohol vapors of ethanol are a little bit overpowering. So lowering the strength somewhat can nudge the balance a little bit and help some of the fruity esters, all the different types of molecules that get released and add to the nose of the whiskey. It helps them to be released. I also mentioned it changes the water tension somewhat. So there's some elements, there's some molecules that have a hard time breaking the surface of the whiskey. So when you change that surface tension a little bit, some of those will get released. And what you'll have is 2 things happening. You'll have a rush of a certain kind of molecule. And after you add water, sometimes the nose is more aggressive. And that's called releasing the serpent. But then you let it settle down and it's reached a balance. And it's just this wonderful, gentler, more expressive version of itself. So thank you very much for asking that question. And I'm awesome. It's awesome that you did. A little bit more chocolate on the nose as well. And
do you get a little chalkiness on the palate?
Nice. And I was going to say the part of blood orange that is berry-like and a little bit kind of like stewed orange-like. I'm getting more of that kind of a marmaladeness coming through on the nose now with water added. And Joey says that he's got more chocolate. And I'm going to agree, but I'm going to say I've got more milk chocolate coming through on the palate. I've got milk chocolate bleeding into the finish. And we have a really fun comment here. A couple of things. So first of all, we had James Watkins, who I just realized threw up 2, not 1, but 2 super chats of an insane value, which I just, again, like that's, I think that if James, if you are reachable from where Joe is, then I think a t-shirt is going to be coming down for you. So make sure you let Joe know your t-shirt size, please.
He definitely is.
Anyway, so that's pretty awesome. And even Dustin, he goes, wow, you're going hard. So anyway, thanks a lot. Thanks for appreciating his own donation to the channel, which is awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, so awesome. A couple more comments to talk about. We have Knucklehead, who I didn't comment on yet. Thanks for popping in. And I'm sorry that I missed your first comment. You had a couple of very interesting comments, which I failed to point out just yet, but I thank you for popping by. I really appreciate it. So that's awesome. Obviously a Canadian. So he's not just a knucklehead, but he's a knucklehead. So that's awesome. Okay, and then another thing that's really important to be aware of is that Winnipeg has the best football team in Canada right now. And very possibly, they may end up getting their third Grey Cup in 3 years. Third year in a row is on the table for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Go Bombers!
And maybe, just maybe, they could beat the Chicago Bears.
Oh, yes. They could maybe beat the Chicago Bears like their third string. Their third, what do you call it? Like not the backup guys, but the backup to the backup guys.
The third string.
Yeah, just maybe. But they're playing against Toronto. They have beaten Toronto twice this year. Hopefully third time's the charm. But I got to tell you, when you have the pennant on the line, when you have the cup on the line, teams play differently. Things change. So all bets are off. I think it's anybody's game. I'd love it if they would win, but if they end up getting second place and losing the Grey Cup to Toronto, then obviously Toronto is the better team this year, and I will support the Bombers again and again. And I would not ever think of slamming them if they do. Again, knock on wood. I shouldn't even mention this. That it's possible, but
I gotta mention, I'm getting into the final third of this cigar, this Don V Maduro, and just look how straight that burn is.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, and I have to say, as a cigar noob, the last third of the cigar is my favorite. It's almost like I want to just leave it and let it burn for half an hour and then get into it.
And you got to try the original Don V. You actually brought one to Korea with you.
I did.
You're an animal.
I took it to Korea, and I did a live stream at a Korean campground on a mountain with my buddy Sehun. Hey Sehun, and if you're in Korea and you're watching this, 안녕하세요. Thanks for coming by. So pretty cool stuff.
So what are you getting on the finish, Mark?
Okay, yeah, let's get into the finish. I want to taste the palate one more time with water added. Very simply, the palate is richer, spicier. I am getting a little bit of cinnamon now, chocolate, big vanilla, some berries, and still a lot of marmalade on the palate for this Dalmore 14-year-old.
And you're going to laugh in comparison to your right now organic tasting notes and finish. For my notes, beautiful lingering citrus and marmalade, perfect kiss of peppermint and black licorice spice.
Awesome notes, Joe. The finish here, again, I want to say that though the palate is medium bodied, this has a very nice waxy finish. And it's not too dry. Interestingly, it's a little bit drier with water added, which almost makes it more fun. So it's sweet and dry, spicy, nice flavor, carrying a good long while. For what a lot of people think of as a beginner, like a beginner's. I don't want to call this a beginner's whiskey, but people that are new to whiskey, they've heard of the Macallan, they've heard of the Dalmore, and they gravitate towards these brands. They haven't really approached the whole body of Scotch whiskey. So they're getting a very narrow band of experience, smell and taste experience. But coming at this from my point of view of, I don't know how many thousands of whiskeys I've tasted now, but coming back to this, and it's falling in its place. It's a very strong whiskey for its age, and for its pedigree. And by pedigree, what I mean is it's an official bottling, it's a high profile bottling, and it's a global top 10 single malt brand. So from that point of view, it's got a lot going on for it. It is maybe a little bit too expensive. That I think I'm okay with saying that. I think it's too expensive. And so on sale, I got the Dalmore 12 Sherry for 117 Canadian. And I feel like it should be more like $95. Although I haven't tasted it yet, so I could be proven wrong.
That's Canadian, 95 Canadian. So what does that convert to in American?
Like $65 for the 12 Sherry.
Right. And so for my overall experience with this, I described it as it's like Christmas in a glass, but with a zesty, fresh and creamy summertime twist. And my personal recommendation for the article would be to get a bottle and a backup bottle. As far as the price point, you're getting the same fascinating musty dunnage warehouse character and that dark red fruit profile, those raisin profiles as the 18. So when you consider that in comparison to the price point on that 18, for me, this is being under $100 US is a must-have bottle.
All put together for this particular bottling. I mean, obviously, I don't know if that's going to be a standard bottling for USA going forward, or if it's just it's available now, but maybe not next year. So I don't know what the availability of this is like. But I'm really enjoying it. And what did you pay for this, Joe?
So this is $89.99 here in the United States, so $90.
Mm-hmm. And for comparison, how much would this have been?
Oh, that was I believe 80.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's 8 years. Obviously, an incredible whiskey, different style of whiskey. Obviously,
totally different style
with your Campbellton. This Dalmore 14 is aged for a minimum of 12 years in ex-bourbon casks, and then it's finished for 2 to 4 years in Pedro Jimenez sherry casks. You might be getting some whiskey that's older than 14 years here. That's just the minimum age on it.
I can see that. And yeah, that's what that means, right? The 14-year-old age statement means the minimum age in the bottle. So they're declaring that they put some 16-year-old whiskey in there. So that's great.
Yep. And here we go, bottle killing my
the bottle
my
kill.
bottle.
Let's put that. Hold it. All right. Totally slaughtered. I still see some dripping going on.
Yep. You want to savor all that Dalmore goodness in there.
Awesome. Look at that glass.
Yep.
Okay. So let's get into the Whisky Whistle whiskey score from me for the Dalmore 14-year-old. I need a final sip here.
And for transparency, Mark is not going to mark this based on a recommendation from me or the fact that I sent it to him. His policy is he's going to rate it based on his personal grading scale. He's going to be honest and transparent with you. Aside from the fact that it was donated to him and his channel.
And thank you for saying that. So yeah, that's the only thing that puts a little bit of a tarnish on my scale here, is that I didn't pay for this. But I don't think that the price that you pay for something should necessarily be factored into your pure enjoyment of the bottle. So on the one sense, you want to know, okay, if I try this blind right now, how much will I like it? I don't know the age. I don't know the strength. I don't know the region. I don't know the maker. And get your own interpretation of how well you enjoy the bottle. And then finally, you are revealed what the bottle is, the strength of it, how much it costs, and so on. And then you have to make your own judgment as to whether the perceived value of taste and smell aligns for you with the price. Okay. So, and just to give some background, in the very beginning of Whisky Whistle, Glenmorangie 10, my first review, I believe I gave it a score of 89. I gave it a score of 89. And that was at a particular point in my whiskey journey. I wasn't a newbie then. I started drinking whiskey back in like the mid 90s. Just aging myself here. I'm now 47 years old, soon to be 48. Pardon me. So I was born in 75. But when I came back to Glenmorangie 10 a few videos ago, I gave it a much lower score. And some people have told me that Glenmorangie, the original, is getting better and better as years pass. But, maybe it was just me tasting the 40% Canadian edition of Glenmorangie 10 and liking it. It's certainly a good price, but it's no longer an 89-point whiskey for me. I think I gave it 83 points. So, a fair big deduction. I would sure love to try the American 43% version of Glenmorangie 10. I think that would probably make up a lot of those points, actually.
And Mark, you're just proving what whiskey can do, and that is bring people together.
Absolutely.
We're talking Mark's in Canada. I'm in Chicago in the United States. We're nearly a decade apart in age, and here we are enjoying a Dalmore 14 U.S. exclusive whiskey together.
Totally. And I think I'm going to do this right. I don't usually pour another glass during a review, but this is a special live review, the first I've ever done. I was thinking of adding the audio in here to keep it very familiar for subscribers, but I didn't do that. Okay, so I will take my final sip here now.
Even though there's silence, this is probably the part that I love the most during Mark's reviews, because you get to see Mark in action. You get to see his palate in action, and here we go, Mark.
Don't flatter me. All right, so the Whisky Whistle whiskey score for Dalmore 14-year-old. What is that going to be, folks? It's going to be 91 out of 100.
That's an
You heard
excellent
it.
score.
91 out of 100 is the Whisky Whistle whiskey score for Dalmore 14.
That's an excellent score.
And where does that put it in relation to other whiskeys at 91 points? Around about the same as Glencadam 15. Glencadam
That was
15.
Ralphie's. That was Ralphie's Whiskey of the Year, I believe, in like
Maybe. Might have been.
2018 or 2019.
Yep. Bullmore 15, which I think is the best Bullmore until you get to fancy stuff. By the way, I'll have a fancy Bullmore review coming up next. Should I give that plug? I think I will.
And while Mark's looking for that bottle, I'll just bring it home with this cigar, this Don V Maduro. We're talking that chocolate, orange, marmalade, that cinnamon spice, and then you add in this Don V Maduro, which is just a chocolate bomb, no spice Maduro cigar, and it's just an excellent pairing. I'm going to be doing another live on the Great Cigar and Pipe Show in January. I'll be doing an article on the pairing and for February 1st. I'm really looking forward to that. But definitely an excellent pairing. This is the Don V Maduro from Norwood Royal Cigars here in Chicago.
Now, it's really funny. This always happens with my reviews. As soon as I give the Whisky Whistle whiskey score, there's a sharp drop off of viewership because people have gotten what they wanted from the review. And that's happened here to a minor degree, but I want to keep people watching a little bit. And that's a really interesting recommendation for a cigar pairing. I think the Dalmore pairs quite well with cigars. And I think that in the case of cigar smoking and enjoying some whiskey at the same time, I think that it's easier for most people, not all, to have a nice cigar with a medium ABV whiskey.
Yes.
So 43%, 44%, 46%, maybe some 40% can work well with a cigar, whereas 65% cask strength.
Right. And your main goal when you're pairing a cigar with a whiskey is you don't want one to overpower the other,
right,
to where the other is unenjoyable. Yep. And I'll give credit to Dave Yancey, the Leaf and Grain Society, the Twisted Pair podcast. He's the one who basically formulated that. That's your basics when it comes to pairing a cigar and a whiskey, to make sure that those boldness levels of the cigar and the whiskey are matched and marry well together to where you're getting that perfect pairing.
Makes sense. And we have James Watkins, who thinks that the 91 was a strong strength of a point. He thought it was going to be 89, but he was surprised when I gave it a 91.
And as a fan of Mark's and watching him over the years, that score is basically spot on for where I thought Mark would be. And like I said earlier, I was excited to get this whiskey to Mark, knowing that it's a USA exclusive. I'm like, man, this expression has to get up to Canada. Mark,
but I'll tell you something though, Joe.
Yeah.
If this were 46% or 48%, probably it would have been more like a 93 or maybe a 94. I'm not sure, but maybe. So I certainly like the strength, and I think that's a real benefit for me and for a lot of whiskey enthusiasts.
Right, and the cigar is the great equalizer to that. And that's another Dave Yancey-ism there from the Twisted Pair podcast, Leaf and Grain Society. The great equalizer. This is where you make up for that lower. What's the ABV on this?
43.8.
43.8. So we're almost at 44, which is a nice ABV, especially when you want to pair a cigar with it. That cigar malt is literally at 44% ABV. So I think we're we're in that realm of, if you're a cigar smoker, this is definitely a whiskey for you and for a pairing experience.
Okay, that's really awesome information, Joe. Now I want to share Top Shelf Dustin's comment here. Where are we? Here we go. So he says that he wants to see more of Mark's scores to put this together. 94 to me is it like a unicorn whiskey, but now just remember, I said that if this were 46 or 48%, that it might be 94. I gave this a score of 91. And again, Glenn Cadam 15 got a 91. Where is it now? Here we go. Bowmore 15 got a 90. Ben Romick 15 got a 91. Bladnock 15 got a 91. Highland Park 15 got a 92. Glen Scotia 15 got a 92. And Springbank 15 got a 95. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of comparison with something that's around about the same age.
And those are all amazing, incredible whiskeys. And here I go, taking off the band of the cigar so I can keep that experience going. This is probably a cigar that I'm gonna nub, bring it back right down to the point where my fingers can no longer enjoy it because it's burning me.
And a welcome to Stills E. Thanks for popping by. He says that when he saw the 14-year Dalmore, he did a double take. He put the Redbreast 15 back and he got it. And that this didn't disappoint. And I would also say, personally, I'm not a big young 15-year-old Redbreast is not young, but I'm not a big Redbreast fan until about 21 years old, which sounds really pompous and I sound like a snob. But I'm just saying what I say.
I like that 12 cast strength, that Redbreast 12 cast strength. So good.
Dustin's talking about his scoring, and Dustin, if you don't mind, please put in the comments. I think you have a privilege here of being a moderator, so I think you could put up a link to your reviews. So Dustin, please throw that up if you can. That'd be great for people to see here, and then to go and follow and check out your own reviews.
I love how he has that Springbank 25 in his profile picture. That Springbank is probably one of my favorite distilleries.
I mean, I think it's almost everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's really hard to get a hold of these days. But currently, my highest ever score was a 97, and that's really awesome. Thanks so much, Dustin. So check out Dustin's YouTube channel. Please subscribe and check that out. And someday, Dustin, we'll have to have a live stream together. It's been a while since I think we were together on a live stream with Swami back when what's his face, Jim Murray put out a review of something, and then there was that that girl had basically destroyed his business, and then we had a nice live stream together, so that was cool. Loch Ness is on his way out. Thank you very much for popping in. It's really awesome to see you. And Loch Ness as well, you also have a YouTube channel, and I think people should check you out. And I think what I can do here is I've added you as a moderator, Loch Ness. So you do often join in on my live streams, and that's really awesome. But please throw up your own YouTube channel. That would be great for people as well. So thank you very much.
And Winnipeg just recently put out two new whiskeys. There was two lives he did with I forget which distilleries.
Who's that now?
You went live. There was two Winnipeg distilleries. One put out a rye, and one put out a single malt. I think you were live and you were in line with one of the Winnipeg whiskeys that was recently put out. What were those?
One of the Winnipeg Whiskey Club samples?
No, it was a distillery in Winnipeg.
Oh, from
Yeah.
my live stream.
Yes, from your live stream.
Oh yeah, that was from so I had two. One of them disappeared because of a YouTube error. That was for Patent 5 Distillery.
Yes.
And then a few days ago I went to Capital K Distillery. They make tall grass whiskey.
Yeah.
So we put that out. They put that out. Pardon me. And I went there and did a nice live stream and got the royal treatment there actually, which is really awesome. I was
Mark, you did
humbled by that.
It was awesome because you did like a street corner in my car review of the Patent 5.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, this is amazing.
Hmm.
No incriminating evidence versus drinking and driving.
Yeah, and then YouTube goes and loses that one. They lost it.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, cool stuff. It looks like Loch Ness is out, so he can't share his channel. But I think it is just simply called Loch Ness. I'll see if I can try and find that because I do subscribe to him. So let me look at that.
But that's an awesome score on the Dalmore 14. And like I said, this is Dalmore, I think, just upping the ante. And when you're getting some of those same like musty dunnage warehouse antique properties on this 14 in comparison to the 18 and the price point comparison, this is $90 US versus $300 US on that 18. Definitely got to have this on your bar.
I think it's quite good. I'm thrilled to have this. I think it's a solid product. Maybe a tad expensive is my only comment there. But I'm pretty happy with the standard Dalmore 12-year-old. It's a little bit light because it's 40%. But I wanted to share the product, the subject of my next whiskey review, and see if we can rouse up some viewership right now here on this show. So I'm just going to put that to the side. I'll put that down here for now. It's still kind of visible. Okay. There we go. I think I'm crushing something. Okay. So here we go. So this is in my next review. And I'm just going to lift it up very slowly. Very slowly. It's coming. And here it is. So this is going to be the next review on my channel, and that is Bowmore Aston Martin 21-year-old. And there's a couple of reasons why I bought this. And again, because I know there's going to be people saying, Mark, that's a waste of money. But here's the thing. Here's the wild and crazy thing. You will never fathom what I paid for this here in Winnipeg. It was $444 Canadian plus tax. It comes to like $4.99. But a crazy price. Meanwhile, it's 51.8%. I got to try this, the Bowmore Aston Martin 21-year-old. I got to try this first, and I was absolutely thrilled with this whiskey. Very much in line with how much I enjoyed the 15-year-old, but just put on steroids. So this is what's going to be in the next review. A couple of nice things about this whiskey. It's packaged in a cardboard box. So they didn't overspend on the packaging, so that's great. You've got a little very, delicate little aluminy type of a little emblem there. So that's, a little bit of extra bling there. Maybe they could have foregone that and saved 50 cents. But, anyway, so that's going to be in the next review. which I'm in the middle of editing. So you'll see that very soon. And this is going to be featured in the Winnipeg Whiskey Club in a week and a half for our winter gala. And Joe, if I'm unable to get this to you before then, which I might not be actually, you will be getting a healthy sample as a little bonus, kind of like a Christmas gift. And when I send you the package for December 28th, which hopefully you'll be able to join in. So anyway, so that's coming up next.
And that's Dalmore on steroids. Maybe a good whiskey to pair with this Don V on steroids. This Don V Maduro
Might very well be,
as I described.
I think that if you pair a Dalmore like this with a cigar, the smoke, the peat will cancel somewhat, and you'll get more of the pine, the fresh pineness, the fresh pine needle, like northern outdoors type of nose.
So you're getting that pine, and you're getting that peat with chocolate, basically, is on the cigar. How do you think that would? How do you think that would pair?
I think it would pair pretty darn nicely with this. This also is heavily sherry influenced, so quite a nice whiskey. But anyway, I don't want to fondle that too much in case I drop it and ruin the club winter gala. And we have Dustin, who's mentioning that it's getting some great reviews and retail wasn't that bad. Yeah, so I think it was more expensive in Ontario, possibly by about $100 from what I've seen. I'm not sure about the American price. That this bottle was released actually a year ago, so it kind of sucks that Canada's getting it a year late. But anyway, so that's coming up next. I still have my cigars, whiskey, and winning glass.
And I still have my Whisky Whistle glass
that I need to fill with something. So I tell you what, Joe, what do you want to see poured into this cigars, whiskey, and winning glass? That's his Facebook group, by the way. Cigars, whiskey, and winning. I can't quite focus on the glass.
Yeah, that's my personal group. If you want to keep up with everything that I'm doing with Whiskey Network in my articles, if you want to keep up with all the podcasts that I do with the Great Cigar and Pipe Show. But Mark, have you had a chance to try the Dalmore 18?
The Dalmore 18, I have not had the pleasure. Okay. I don't think that it's going to make an appearance on Whisky Whistle. I don't know, Joe. It's like $500 up here in Canada,
right?
And
so, this is probably like one of their best expressions for me personally. I like it better than the King Alexander.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's some big praise.
I mean, on that King Alexander, you're getting the like 6 different casks on that King Alexander. That Marsala cask is really fruit forward on that King Alexander, but here you're just getting a classic single malt whiskey, and I think this is probably their signature whiskey that you just absolutely would love.
Now, Joe. So there's another thing that I feel like we can mention this, and if the Dalmore, if White and Mackay and their parent company happen to be listening, then all the better. But okay, I like the bottle shape. Okay, it's shaped like a bell. Okay, so you want to ring that bell, right? I would love to see.
Yeah,
I would love to see this replaced with a smaller actual metal, like what is it, billeted? No, CNC'd aluminum little badge on the bottle for, let's say, like their 18-year-old or their cigar malt or their King Alexander. and then just merely printed for their 12-year-old. Okay, so it's a bit of bling for like the noobs. When a newbie goes to the whiskey shop and they see this, it certainly has a bit of appeal. But for us, we're sitting here, we're drinking this all the time, and we know that it's plastic. And I just don't feel like this is a really good marketing strategy for the Dalmore.
Right.
And I love the stag for sure. I think that this imagery is beginning to be lost a little bit too severely.
So the reason
whiskey.
behind the stag is King Alexander of Scotland. This was in the 1700s. What they would do is they would hunt these stags, which are 4 times the size of like an elk, and this is basically what they look like. And while they were on the hunt, a stag charged King Alexander.
Oh.
And the leader of the Mackenzie clan speared that stag at the very last moment, saving King Alexander from great bodily harm and or death. So basically hooked up that Mackenzie clan, who eventually took rights over the Dalmore distillery, which actually I think got blown up by the German, accidentally got blown up by the German Navy. And then they rebuilt the distillery, and so that's why they put the stag on every bottle. Is there's a great backstory to it. Yeah,
and I respect that.
Yeah,
and I think that if they want to move forward as a brand, I think that, in my opinion, just getting that in a little bit of cast or CNC'd aluminum would probably do wonders for their marketing.
Yeah, I mean it's a fancy distillery.
They
consider themselves a boutique distillery. Their bottles are very fancy looking. It's a very elegant whiskey inside the bottle, especially this 14, that cigar malt, just unicorn whiskey is as far as pairing a cigar with it.
Totally. Okay, now while you are thinking of what I should pour into my cigars, whiskey, and winning glass, I'm going to show off something that's right over here. And this has been around on the channel a few times, and you can see I've got a couple of mini casks. This one is a 3-liter Spanish oak, which I bought in Korea, and I left it for far too long, and it had dried out, and it took me quite a while to get it rehydrated and watertight again. So anyway, so this is a toasted Spanish oak 3-liter mini cask, or whatever you want to call it. And then over here, I have an American oak. This is a 1-gallon American oak cask, which was given to a local mixologist slash a certain kind of a green tasting aficionado and professional. So he works in the Canadian green industry, since it's legal up here to have to smoke something that's green and not tobacco. So he's gotten into that industry as a professional. He's a Winnipeg Whiskey Club member. His name is Joel. So Joel, if you're watching, hello. Nice to talk about you a little bit on the channel. But anyway, he gave this to me. He had used that for a couple of barrel aged cocktail projects, like a Negroni, and it's currently about about a quarter full of Knob Creek 120 proof,
Nice.
which has become.
And for that
so
cigars whiskey and winning glass, I'm thinking, do you have any of that Glenallachie Impex
I
special that I
do.
sent
The
you?
Virgin Oak.
Yeah, that
I've got that. I'll get
was
that
a great
for sure.
review. That was a great review on that.
I'll for sure go get that. But anyway, so this guy, I don't know if you can hear that.
Boy, can hear it. Yes.
Okay, so this guy is full with a good couple liters of something that was 71% when it went into the barrel, and I'll just sort of twist this a little bit, and you can kind of see something. If you look at this, it's semi ornamental.
And this Don V is, look at, we're like an hour and 45 minutes in, and this Don V Maduro is just still going, and
That's incredible.
bloody left.
Okay, so I'm gonna crack this thing open, and then I'll go get the Glenallachie. And let me find a glass, which I should have somewhere. Let's see here. Well, that'll do. No, that's not good.
Mark, what do you think I should pour for my? Because I'm about done with this Dalmore 14. I have a Whiskey Network glass here.
I'm thinking that you probably don't have something that's Canadian that might work well in there. So
I do have an Alberta rye.
Oh, is it cask strength?
Yes.
Oh, I think that would be a good one to give it a go with. Definitely fill that glass with your Alberta Premium.
Okay. I'm gonna come off for a second.
Okay, so here we go.
We'll get that.
And before this this distillate went into this barrel, I had been barrel aging some Manitoban Haskap wine made from Haskap berries, which look like really oblong grapes. I don't think they're not in the same family as grapes, but they look like that.
And when you talk about the wine, that just reminds me, when I was able to sip that Pedro Jimenez sherry wine next to the whiskey, you sip the wine and then you sip the whiskey, and then you literally pick up those properties of the wine in the whiskey, and it was just an incredible experience.
Okay, so there we go. Now have a look at this color. Let me just put this barrel down. This is 1 month.
That's an amazing color.
So 1 month, and it's ruby red. And it smells like apples. So pretty neat stuff. Yeah, some whiskey to go with that wine. So this is 71. Well, this was at barrel entry 71%. It's probably more like 69 or 68 now. But I'm going to go grab that Glenallachie, and we're going to just carry on. We are presently at an hour 48. Let's. Are you good for another, say, 20 minutes or half an hour?
Absolutely, Mark.
Okay,
absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put you in full focus here. So you can. I don't know. Do you want to talk about that? What are your thoughts on Alberta Premium Cask Strength?
The Alberta is a little too far away, but I'm gonna go right to this. Since we're on Dalmore, I'm gonna talk about this Dalmore cigar malt, and I have a cigar going. again, this is the Don V Maduro. I have a fresh glass here. I have a fresh Whiskey Network glass here. This is the etching on this glass is done by Tom Simeone, giftsonglass.net. So I'm gonna pour some of the Dalmore cigar malt since I have
cigar malt. Nice.
Yeah, since I have it at the ready.
Okay, so I'm gonna say goodbye to the Dalmore 14. I didn't do it yet, so Joe, I got to do that because it's really warranted.
I'm finishing up my 14 now. This is the bottle.
And that is, I am gonna give this. Let me just put myself in focus here for a second.
I'm gonna cleanse my palate with some water.
I'm gonna be giving this Dalmore 14-year-old an American release, 43.8%, 91 points from Whisky Whistle. It's gonna get a Whisky Whistle hug. And I'm going to give it a little kiss over here. And then give it a little bit of spank on that stag. This needs to be changed.
I think that's the first time you've given a spank to a bottle. I don't know.
Might be. a playful one.
Yeah. It was a stag spank.
Okay, so I've got two things.
Like, how dare you charge King Alexander?
Okay, so here is another wonderful bottle that came up to Canada thanks to Joe. And this is a very special single cask Glenallachie. This is a 2010, and it's natural color, unchill filtered, 62.9%. Fully matured for like almost 11 years in a virgin oak barrel. And first of all, I've had some people who were laughing at a certain product. It might have been was it from Springbank? I'm not sure. Someone put out a 30-year-old special edition something or other that one of the casks had been finished in virgin oak, and somebody was like, is anybody really, really upset that they're taking a nice old whiskey and they're throwing it into a intense virgin cask? But here's the thing. I've had Millstone, Belgian single malt, Netherlands, Dutch single malt, for 20 years in a virgin oak barrel, and it came out magically. And here we have this 10-year-old, and look at it. It's not overly dark, and it's not overly tannic, and it doesn't taste like the Scotch equivalent of bourbon at all. Whether maybe the char level was different, or for whatever reason, this whiskey came out very well made. Some cinnamon, lots of baking spice. Anyway, cheers to you, Joe.
Cheers. And this Don V is pairing even better with that cigar malt. Just this cigar malt is just, I don't have words for it. It's incredible.
Like I say, for 110 or 120 Canadian on sale in Alberta, cigar malt is a thumbs up for me. Okay,
yeah,
so
and
now,
even if you don't like cigars, the cigar malt by itself is just incredible. Okay,
so I've got
very buttery,
virgin oak over
creamy, buttery, creamy, that orange marmalade on there, that nice cinnamon spice on the back end, but like a very viscous, thick, layered version of that 14.
Now, there is some super interesting conversations going on in the live chat, Welsh Toro, and also we have Top Shelf Dustin. They're talking about what is a reasonable price to pay for whiskey. And if I paid $400, $450 Canadian for that Bowmore 21, does that price make sense? Or is it just ridiculous? And we really should be just letting those types of whiskeys exist in the stratosphere for the flippers and the lawyers. Let them have that, and let's just stick to down to earth cask strength. Let's say up to about $200 Canadian. I mean, you can get amazing whiskey that run the plethora of flavor from any country up to $200 Canadian. You don't need to pay more than that. So I think there's truth in what WT is trying to say. There's also truth in what Top Shelf Dustin is trying to say, that if you're talking something that's old or something that's very, very unique, maybe the casks were expensive, or maybe it's a closed distillery, or maybe it's just it's 25 years old and it's a single cask. I mean, the price that it sells at, in one sense, is the value of that product, especially the price at secondary, at auction. So the price at auction, not including the auction fees, that's always reported in the auction prices, the actual selling price at auction, in a way, in a textbook way, is actually the value of the whiskey itself. So anyway, food for thought. But so I've got Glenallachie over here, the virgin cask from Joe. Joe is getting into the nub club.
Look at the back end of this Don V Maduro. Look at that burn.
Very nice.
Straight as can be. That's slowed down incredibly.
And I wish I could enjoy you, but I just cannot. I join you. I wish I could join you. I don't wish I could enjoy you. I wish I could join you. But I can't smoke in my house. So I've got one Glenallachie, and I'm pouring another one. This is cask strength 10-year-old batch number 6. Okay.
And this is Mark going hard at this point.
Yes. And look at this. So we have virgin oak versus the, you can't really see that because of my name or whatever. Okay. No, you still can't see that very well. I got to switch.
Move the bottle. Here. Move the bottle to, or yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so here we go. Look at the color differential. These are both 10 years old. And the lighter colored one is the virgin cask. The darker one is, going to be a mix of casks. Does this say on the back here? I think they post that online, what's going on in the cask. So batch number 6, 57.8%. Obviously heavily sherry influenced. Anyway, so don't think of virgin oak as something that does not fit with single malt Scotch whiskey. You shouldn't think that way. But go to a whiskey festival, go to a whiskey bar, go to a distillery and try it. And you might think, oh, wow, this is totally different from what I expected. So anyway, beautiful cinnamony notes, but this is less about the whiskey tasting and more about the friendship enjoyment. So cheers to you again, Joe.
Cheers.
And if we can get real for a second here, Whisky Whistle obviously is we'll call it a professional hobby. And I've been at this for 7 years. This has probably been the first year that I have not been able to really keep up with my content. I almost committed social media suicide by not posting any videos for 2 months a while back. But my day job, I'm a real estate professional during the day, which kind of sucks right now because the market is just really not conducive to somebody with my amount of networking. I'm only about 4 years into that industry. It's really tough to find clients that want to sell their house. I've got lots of people that want to buy, but they don't want to buy things with the mortgage rates that there are right now, which kind of sucks.
And it's been a busy year post-pandemic.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely been a busy year.
And I ended up just having to take a second job because of the way things are going. I've taken on a second job, pulling pints and helping people get set up at a virtual golf center, which was imported to Canada from Korea, called Golf Zone, GOLFZON. It's a Korean system of virtual golf. So that's what I've been up to. And Joe, is it okay? Can we talk about your day job?
Okay, so I'm actually a law enforcement officer here in Chicagoland area. I work day shifts, so that allows me the time for my family, obviously, and the enjoyment of whiskey and cigars. Like I said earlier, Mark has been my forefront and my go-to when it comes to finding those amazing whiskeys, developing my palate, developing my information and my knowledge and enjoyment of cigars. He's just elevated my experience. So for anyone tuning in that's new, this is the guy that you want to jump on board with. There's a lot of whiskey reviewers out there, but I think you're going to get the most in-depth experience when it comes to reviewing a whiskey, deciding whether or not you want to purchase the whiskey. I know our backstory here is I found a rare old Glenmorangie 18, and he was the only one on YouTube reviewing an older bottling of that Glenmorangie 18, which is slightly peated versus the fruit forward newer version of the Glenmorangie 18 and all their expressions. And Mark is the guy you want to go to. You know, I don't think there's a better reviewer out there, and that's just my personal opinion. And I'm here in the United States. Mark's up there in Canada. He's 10 years older than I am. And
I don't see it.
He's you know, he started his whiskey journey a little bit before I did, and I was a complete newbie at that time. And now here I am at the recommendations of a Mark on his whiskeys. I'm writing for a whiskey virtual magazine. I'm able to write based on my palate that was basically developed by Mark.
Get out of here.
I'm able to write about these whiskeys, what I'm experiencing on these whiskeys. His reviews are intellectual, they're thorough, and like I said earlier, like when you see him sip that whiskey, and you see his jaw going back and forth, and his mind just going. There's a lot going on there that everybody should appreciate, and we appreciate you, Mark, all the things that you do for the whiskey community, and because I think you've elevated everybody's experience that pays attention to you, and anybody that is paying attention in the whiskey and the whiskey industry knows that Mark is probably your best venue for getting your best experience with the whiskey.
Come on now. That's a lot of flattery. and I really appreciate it. And listen, if there's a couple of people that have discovered whiskey a little bit more thanks to my channel, then I'm totally humbled and thrilled. And I know that another whiskey tuber, in fact, he was here earlier, Jason Whiskey Wise. He also claimed there was a lot of influence from me getting his channel started. Meanwhile, he was only about 6 months behind me. But it just goes to show you that we need to lean on each other, and with a little bit of help from me and people like Ralphie and people like Roy Aquavite, people like Rob over at Whiskey in the Six, Trenny and C,
Yes.
and Scotch Test Dummies, Scotch for Dummies, Malt and Drum, and the list goes on and on and on. There's so many, Swedish Whiskey Girl. There's just so many people. And then not just the YouTubers, there's bloggers, people like yourself, Joe. Joe, now you are influencing people to try new things and to try pairings with cigars.
Absolutely.
A few years ago, I thought to myself, you know what? Your everyday person doesn't want to smoke a cigar. Well, guess what? Your everyday person is totally interested in trying excellently made, natural, no filler, no additive, sun-dried, wonderful, hand-rolled cigars.
Yes.
And,
I feel like you and Ralphie were probably like the reviewers that were like there like before it was cool to review whiskey. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's like I found you with that Glenmorangie 18 because you were the only one doing that Glenmorangie 18. I don't even think Ralphie was reviewing it yet, and I was hooked.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that, Joe, and I'm really, really thankful for our friendship. And we have another little comment about Swami, and but WT also agrees with Top Shelf Dustin that Swami could actually make a return to reviewing whiskey. I don't know if he wants to though. So he's a complicated man, and there is so much going on inside his head all the time. And he's a true Canadian. He's fluent in English and in French, and I think it would be great to see him make a return. You can still see him posting very funny memes on Instagram. But I agree. I think there's a place for Swami, and I think that maybe in a way, the whiskey community wasn't ready for Swami. But you know what? Today, the way things are, there's room for everybody, and everybody can have a voice, and everybody can take their part in the community, whether it's creating content, or whether it's doing something funny on TikTok or Instagram lives. You got people that are doing things like what was his name? I often forget his name on Instagram.
And Mark, what number is this for you? Like you're approaching about 800 reviews, and if you're a newbie, go right to the beginnings of Mark, and you right away you started off as the Whisky Whistle, correct? You were never anything else.
That's right.
That transformed into Whisky Whistle. Right off the get-go, he was the Whisky Whistle because he was blowing the whistle on whiskey. Absolutely. And here, look, this is the Don V Maduro. and I'm gonna nub this. It's still going with
Yes.
flavor, and just incredible.
Here's a fellow that I wanted to mention on Instagram, Tim, the whiskey influencer. So that guy is tearing it up on Instagram. He's got 28,000 followers on Instagram, and he's done a little bit on YouTube. But Instagram is a weird platform. There is no native monetization, so there's no Instagram paying you directly.
Right.
You have to chase and get sponsorships and whatnot, and
Right.
make little, infomercials.
Right.
Which
for me, I'm not worried about followers or anything like that. I probably have about 100 some odd followers on Instagram, and they're basically friends that I've gained throughout my life. But I review the whiskey, and again, that's based on my palate that I've developed and my knowledge that I've developed through watching Mark. On the cigar side, it's going to be Zeal Cigars, Brad and JB. But the Great Cigar and Pipe Show, they've kind of just brought everything together when it comes to pairing the whiskey and the cigars live. But it was Dave Yancey, Ash Red on their podcast that brought me to the next level when it came to being able to pair a cigar with a whiskey. So I'm going to give kudos to them.
Good night, Ron.
I'm going to give kudos to all you guys, Mark especially, that started it all.
Well, I didn't start it all.
Oh, you did. You did.
You
definitely did.
Here's the thing. So when I started, there were basically four choices of regularly uploading content creators. They weren't even known as content creators back then. There were four of them. There was Ralphie. There was whiskey.com. What's his face? Horst. This is Horst Luning, and you're watching whiskey.com.
I liked your Richard Patterson expression earlier.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
That was pretty good.
And there was Scotch Test Dummies. They had just started. They were about a year and a half into.
Yes, I think I was
reviews.
I was literally watching Mark. I was literally watching you, the Scotch Test Dummies, and then I found Ralphie.
That's really amazing.
And then I found Aquavite doing his recycled.
Yes,
you get to learn about 10 or 15 different whiskeys in about 5-10 minutes.
I think he started at the tail end of 2016 or mid 2016. So I mean, he's obviously he's changed things a lot for a lot of people. There's so many people that drink differently, buy differently, and enjoy whiskey differently now thanks to him. I mean, Ralphie obviously, but who did I want to mention? I wanted to mention Luke Reimars. I think that's his name, Luke Reimars. So he quit about, I don't know, maybe around the time I started, he quit, or he quit a few months before that. And he's still in the periphery. You can still sort of find him, but he's no longer doing whiskey reviews. There's some hints that he might return to it. And there's a guy that, I mean, again, possibly, I mean, at the time there was just nobody doing content, and he was doing, Ardbeg 10 versus Kulila 12. He was doing things then that that nobody else was. So he maybe he left too prematurely, and probably had he stuck around, his channel would be approaching probably 100,000 subscribers by this point. So interesting. But anyway, it's really fun to walk down memory lane in a way. And I want to talk about one particular review that I now regret. There's a review in my my archives, and it was provided by the producer, and I now truly regret having gone through the motions with that product and been positive about it, because I got to tell you, I'm at the point where I think I want to flip the switch on that and make it into a not private, but make it hidden from the channel. And I almost feel like I want to do that, but on the other hand, I don't want to disrupt the continuity and get into censoring myself. But what I'll do is I'll just say publicly right now that whether you're a newbie or whether you're a wizened, sage, old whiskey lover, there is one thing you absolutely do not need for your whiskey, and that is whiskey stones. You don't need whiskey stones. Don't buy them. It's a waste of money, and they don't really work very well. It's also supremely difficult to. What are you going to do? You're going to keep those chilled all the time, and you're going to have 10 different sets in case someone comes over. So do yourself a favor and just don't even bother touching anything. Whiskey stone, whiskey rocks, whiskey marbles, stainless steel, whiskey chilling stones. These things are useless, and I apologize publicly for having put out the content about 4 years ago. That's all I got to say.
The apology 4 years later.
Yeah. So yeah, and here's some comments about Luke. Welsh Toro WT says Luke was amazing. So many great whiskey reviewers have stopped. A lot of them have stopped. I mean, Swami for one. But anyway, stones in the freezer. Just you don't need them. You do not need them.
But Mark, whiskynetwork.net is a virtual online whiskey magazine. You're going to get so much information there as well. It's through Whiskey Bourbon Scotch Enthusiasts. It's a Facebook group that's reached about 48,000 members. You can't go wrong. It's free. Again, you just go on whiskynetwork.net. You punch in your email address. Boom, you're subscribed. You get the whole magazine on the first of every month. Where you're going to get my reviews. Mark, this is going to be linked in my February 1st article of next year, 2023. We got a lot of great things going on. I appreciate you having me on the channel again. I think this is my second live with you on the channel.
For sure.
Definitely. So we appreciate that, and definitely follow Mark. Mark is the best of the best as far as I'm concerned. He's up there with your Ralphies.
Wait, get out of here.
You know,
wait, Joe. Wait.
Yeah.
Are you tapping out?
I'm gonna tap out because I do have roll call at 0600.
Oh crap.
But he's up there with your Ralphies. He's up, your what was it? The Scotch Test Dummies.
Get out of here.
He's definitely up there. Keep following Mark. If you want to enhance your whiskey journey, you just follow Mark. And I don't think you hit that Glenelg yet. The 2010, in the Cigars Whiskey Winning Glass. What are your thoughts on that? In the Cigars Whiskey Winning Glass, you have your Glenelg, the Impex.
Yes.
I don't think you've hit that yet. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I did a review of that one. It was pretty amazing whiskey. In fact,
it's an amazing review.
When I'm comparing these two, I think I prefer this particular whiskey to the batch 6 10-year-old cask strength.
Yeah, that was a unique review because you opened up. I wrapped it, and you opened it up as a gift, It was literally in Christmas wrapping. You opened it up and boom, you did a review, and that was incredible.
Oh my goodness. We got, so Jerry Wolf, he has commented a couple of minutes ago, but he's been watching Mark since he looked 19. That's too funny because I was already 40 when I started. But so that's awesome. And that's right. I always wore a suit and a shirt when I was reviewing whiskey in the beginning. And I still put it on once in a while. But one thing happened during COVID. I put on so much weight, I grew out of all my suits. But I'm slowly returning to my size 38 suit. So I'll get back into those pretty soon.
I need one of those Whisky Whistle shirts.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get for sure you are. And we have Whiskey Canuck, who's at the New Brunswick Spirits Festival. Have a fantastic time over there, and say hi to Dr. Graham Young if you see him. That's awesome. But listen, Joe, I want to say thank you. And I know you got to work early in the morning, so I really appreciate all of your support for the channel, and for the people that are watching. There's something beautiful that happens when two people, whether it's a guy and a guy, a girl and a girl, or a girl and a guy and a girl, and you become good friends, and you respect each other, and you have a similar hobby, and not just that, but you also have a similar kind of an outlook on life. And so here's this fella in Chicago. He's a law enforcement officer. He's an awesome fella. He is now a whiskey reviewer himself, along with cigars, at the Whiskey Network. What is it now with the whiskynetwork.net?
Whiskynetwork.net, and like you said, exactly. We're talking two guys, two different countries, two totally different worlds, almost a decade apart in age. Obviously, Mark's older. We've connected on a level that is indescribable through whiskey.
And hey, how about this? We both have wives that are not from our native countries.
Yes. Mark, yours is from Korea.
Yep. And
right.
Yours
mine
is
from Mexico. Yes.
And we both need to visit our wives' hometowns someday. So someday when I'm in Korea, it'd be nice to have you and your wife, Valeria. Is that right?
Yes. We gotta make our way out to that Winnipeg Whiskey Club barbecue at some point.
That would be fantastic. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, thanks so very much, and really, really fun time today. We'll see you again, Joe. And I'm not going to sign out right away, so keep watching if you are. But Joe, you are awesome. Big cheers to you.
Thank you, sir.
These two glasses are going to do a little whiskey glass kiss here. There we are.
Cheers. Okay. You keep going, Mark, because we can't get enough of you.
Okay. Take care, Joe.
All right. Take care.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye. All right. So really fantastic having Joe Gulino from Chicago popping in, and a lot of people popping in today that I haven't met before, and I'm really happy that you're here. And some people that have been around in the background that have been watching me since the beginning. And I guess because I don't do very many live streams, they're able to join tonight and come and say hi, which is really awesome. So we had Dalmore, 14-year-old, the American release, finished for 2 to 4 years in PX casks, and gave that a 91 points here live. And we're now moving into a bit of Glenallachie. We've taken a dramatic turn to craft, a dramatic turn from big brand thinking, big brand marketing, which in this case was successful, but we've shifted. And now we're moving into something that's crafty, that is unchill filtered, that's natural in color, and is basically the epitome of what whiskey enthusiasts and whiskey lovers today want in their glass. So pretty cool stuff. I have not reviewed the Glenallachie 10-year-old cask strength. Where did I put the bottle? Here it is. I'll sidle it in here. And I won't review it for you here live. We'll do that in another video. But I'm happy to say that I have a bottle of the 7-year-old. Sorry, no. Batch 7 coming in. So I've got batch 6 here. And then I've got batch number 7 that's on its way. So that'll be a fun review. And I leaked a little bit of information about what's next on the channel, and I'll put that up again. And that is this very bottle, Bowmore Aston Martin Master Selection, aged 21 years. So that's going to be the next standard review here on Whisky Whistle. And we have great comments coming through here. Jerry Wolf, obviously he's been watching since the beginning, but it's the first Whisky Whistle live stream that he's joined. And I'm so happy that you found it. And I really appreciate that. And just so you know, if you're watching, I'm not really able to chat along while I am speaking to you because, first of all, I find it very difficult for me to type and look away from the screen while I'm doing a live stream. I have to change my setup at some point, and I will. But for now, I'll have to just comment verbally. If you've left a comment or a question, that'll be the case. But anyway, so let me ask you this, though. Since 2016, when Billy Walker sold the Benriach Whiskey Company with Glendronach and Glenglassaugh, to which then he then purchased the Glenallachie with his group of whiskey investors. How many bottles of Glenallachie have you purchased since then? And I have to clear my throat for a second, so bear with me. All right. So how many bottles of Glenallachie have you purchased in that short span of time? And I got to tell you, this was obviously donated from Joe. I purchased the 10-year-old. I have this very special single cask, which is a Korean release, which I picked up earlier this year. And it's called the National Treasure Edition 1. And you can't see the Korean because I can't hold this steady enough. But it is the Singnemun edition. Singnemun is the one of the gates, the west gate of the city of Seoul. So anyway, so this is an interesting bottle. And get this, this is fully matured in a Pinot Noir Barrique. It's 9 years old, and it's also 63.4%. Now, obviously, this was actually filled before Billy Walker and his team purchased the distillery. But anyway, I'll be excited to try that at some point someday. And then look at this one. I don't very often purchase 25-year-old whiskey, but when I do, no, I'm just kidding. But in this case, I was able to get the Glenallachie 25. I just bumped my mic. Sorry about that. The Glenallachie 25-year-old at a fairly reasonable price a couple of years ago. And I'm saving that for a special day. And as memory serves, I haven't inverted this for a while, so I better put that upside down for a few minutes. So anyway, so that's my question. Since Billy Walker purchased the distillery with his team, how many bottles of Glenallachie have you purchased? And this tells a lot about your personal shift from buying the brands you used to buy, the Glenmorangies, the Glenfiddichs, the Glenlivets, and then if you got into Isla, the Bowmores and the Lagavulins, the Kulilas, the Lafroigs, even the Ardbegs. And now you are probably, if you're into Glenallachie and if you like peat, then you've also probably gotten into Kilchoman. And I've got a couple or 3 bottles, maybe 4 of Kilchoman. Again, it's natural in color. It's unchill filtered. They're always higher strength, which is great. I have a really wonderful Sauterne, fully matured Sauterne Kilchoman that I quite like. And anyway, so you've seen a shift in your own purchasing. It has been a very, very, very long time since I purchased anything from Glenfiddich. In fact, my last purchase, I think I've got it here. No, I can't find it. My last purchase was Glenfiddich 14. And it's probably the whiskey that I like the least. Out of almost all the whiskeys I've ever purchased, that is probably the biggest buyer remorse I've ever felt for a whiskey was from that Glenfiddich 14. So anyway, let's just close out this video by saying that you've come a long way, and if you're watching this, I don't know how you found me, but I'm really glad you did. I've reached a very interesting milestone in subscribership, which I'll share today if I can see it today. Let's see here. Really wild stuff. Oh, yeah, I passed it already. So there we go. 7,779 subscribers. I was really hoping to catch the 7777 and get a screenshot of it and put it up on Instagram, because that's like a string of lucky numbers that, well, I'll have to like 1000% my channel size to get a string of 7s again. So I missed it, but unless a couple drop off, every day you get a couple of new subscribers and then a couple that unsubscribe. So anyway, kind of neat stuff. But I've got 3 things in my glass right now, and we're talking about Glenallachie. We're talking about changing our purchasing strategies. And I don't find myself buying as much Glenmorangie as I used to. I do like their yearly releases. I really enjoyed Tale of Cake, and I quite enjoyed A Tale of Winter. And I've got a couple of bottles coming of the Tale of the Forest, and I'm really, really curious what that herbal burning, what is it, heather or whatever they burnt during the peating process, how that will change the whiskey. But anyway, so I've got this shift going on, and I'm sure you do too. You're no longer buying those old brands, and you're more attracted to things like the Glenallachie, the Kilchoman, or things from Campbellton, whether it's Glen Scotia, or whether it's Kilkerran, or whether it's Springbank. You're looking into the lowlands, and you're interested in Bladnoch. I really do like Bladnoch, and I'm pretty thrilled with what I've been able to try from them so far. So that shift is happening. And so I think that we're going to see some big changes in rankings. The writing's on the wall. It may take 20 years, but something's going to change, and you're going to see a year-by-year shift towards these types of honest, consumer-focused whiskeys for people like you and me. So now I want to get back into a couple things here. So first of all, I have this this particular thing in my glass, which started out as apples that I picked, and then it got turned into cider, and then something happened to it in this thing, and then it got put into a barrel that I had seasoned with some local Manitoba wine. So this is 100% Manitoban something, and it's pretty wild. It's appley and it's red fruity. Super tart, and the barrel needs more time to add some sweetness in there. And thank you, Stills E is still watching along, and he picked up a Glenallachie 13 Rojo barrel. That sounds pretty amazing. Personally, beautiful finish on this apple cider eau de vie. I really like what's going on with wine barrels, and I'm getting more and more interested in wine barrels because they're different. They're often made with exceptionally good wood, and they've often only held the wine for a short period of time when the Scotch industry gets hold of them. So you're getting something that's really active, which I think is very beneficial. He says the Rioja. Wonderful. And I see those for sale, and I think, oh, that might be something nice to get. I haven't pulled the trigger on those wine barrels that Glenallachie makes yet. But to Stills E, a big cheers to you. 10 years in a virgin oak cask. Fruity, spicy, delicious. And then we have the batch 6 10-year-old cask strength. I like this. There's something not my favorite on the nose, however. But the palate more than makes up for those shortcomings on the nose. Wonderful. Anyway, so if you're watching until now, 2 hours, 37 minutes into this live stream, thank you very much, and I really appreciate it. Do your homework, investigate your purchases before you purchase. Does that make sense? Investigate your desires, your whiskey checklist before you buy. Do not wander into the store and ask the employee for help. You'll often be led down a dark path, a path that is fueled by industry connections, that is fueled by educational seminars for employees that are largely paid for by large, very large conglomerates, like the big three in Scotland: Diageo, Beam Suntory, and Bacardi. Anyway, so do your homework, investigate, use certain tools. I use a tool called Whiskey Base. I'm on Whiskey Base. You can find me on Whiskey Base. You can just search for Whisky Whistle, and you should be able to find me there, or else it's Mark Whisky Whistle. They didn't like Whisky Whistle. I think it's because they thought it was too similar to Whistle Pig, maybe. I don't know. But it's an interesting tool that can give you a very quick indication of whether a bottle you're looking at, provided you make sure you check you have to check. You got to check for the label at the back, the stamp, and check out those numbers. And if you can match those up to a bottle that's on there, then you might get yourself a little more information about, does it match my interests? Does it match my tastes? Do most people think it's a good whiskey? That might help you a little bit, but not always, and not if there's only a couple of reviews, because I wouldn't put it past any big company to make accounts on online websites like that and fill it with BS reviews and skew it. But as soon as there's like 100 different independent reviews on something, you can get a sense of roundabout what people think about it. So anyway, check out Whiskey Base. There's all types of blogs that are useful. And of course, YouTube is a very good source for investigating a little bit about whiskeys that you're thinking of getting. Anyway, so do your homework. Hopefully you're getting gravitated towards this type of product from companies like Glenallachie. And hopefully that team will stick with them, and they're not going to turn around and sell it like they did with their last enterprise. Fingers crossed. But anyway, listen, I'm going to bid you adieu. And this has been very wonderful. I'm going to take one final sip of this 10-year-old batch 6 from Glenallachie. Beautiful, fruity, slightly leathery palate. And another sip of this bottle from Chicago, thanks to Joe, who was on the show tonight. Cheers, Joe. Side by side, that single cask is something pretty amazing. And Jerry Wolf says good night and happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah, if that is what you celebrate. I don't know all of the holidays of all the different religions that celebrate around the same time. But whatever you celebrate it well. Find yourself something great. And if you can't find something great, make something great like this. Wow. Needs way more time in that barrel. All right. So thank you very much. Take care, everybody. My name is Mark. You're watching Whiskey Whistle. Make sure you subscribe. Check me out on Patreon. I'll put that link right here for you. Patreon.com/Whiskey Whistle. Whoops. TLE. Please check me out on Patreon. Join the Whiskey Whistle crew. You'll get your name in the credits at the end of each video. You'll also get advanced viewership of future Whiskey Whistles. And eventually you'll get yourself a Whiskey Whistle Glencairn glass. And as soon as I get them made, I will be sending out the first batch of Whiskey Whistle t-shirts to the Whiskey Whistle crewmates. All right, so folks, take care. I love you, and we'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.